Hi everybody, welcome to a special edition of Marion County Espresso TV from the home of Central College football, Skipper Stadium. My guest today is Jeff McMartin, head coach of the Central College football team. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm sure a lot of people are already aware you won your 150th game for the Dutch this weekend.
Yeah, I was, throughout my career, I've never really looked at my record too often and have tried to kind of just stay focused on our team and kind of what's going on. And once again, it's just been something I haven't really thought a lot about. And then after the game, some players, congratulated me, and some other people have kind of talked about it a little bit, and it's given me a chance to kind of reflect on some things. But it was a nice day, and it's great to have it happen. But certainly says a lot about our program and the legacy here, more than it says about me in particular.
Well, given my background, I'm glad your win came against Luther. So.
Okay, there you go. I know you being a Wartburg grad, that's one of the big rivals that Wartburg has, and it was a good challenge. And Wartburg, Luther's got a team that's getting better. They played a lot better this year, not only against us, but they have all season, and so I knew it'd be a tough game. And anytime you can get a win in our league, it feels good.
And so for those of its viewers that don't know, when did you come here to Central?
So I got here in 2004, and I got hired. I was an offensive coordinator at DePaul University down in Greencastle, Indiana, before I came here. I graduated from Central, so this is my alma mater, and came back in 2004, and have coached here ever since as the head coach. And that's, I think, as I think about this 150 wins, that's something that I think back to is like getting started here, and I worked with some really great coaches. I was one of the youngest coaches on the staff, and now 20 years later, I'm one of the oldest coaches on the staff, and we still have a great staff, even though a lot of the faces and names have changed, and there have been a number of different coaches on our staff kind of throughout these last 20 years that have really impacted our team, and I've learned a lot from and really enjoyed working with, and we've also had a great group of players. But yeah, thinking back to when it all started in 2004, it was a season where I learned a lot and grew a lot, and that's when it all got started.
Did you play for Coach Skipper back in the day?
I did. So I played for Coach Skipper, and I also ended up student coaching. I broke my arm 2 years in a row in the preseason, and while I had a broken arm, I was in a cast and couldn't play. And back then, those casts were all out of plaster, and when you try to play, they'd crack and crumble. And so, I tried it wrapping a pillow around my cast and stuff like that, and that obviously was probably not going to work for the long haul. And then the second time when I broke it again, they were just like, I wouldn't play on it. And so I ended up student coaching, really kind of fell in love with the thought of being a college football coach. I had a professor here that suggested that I think about doing that, in addition to kind of being around Coach Skipper's staff and kind of seeing them every day from the other side of, things as a student coach. Was something that I really kind of fell in love with, that idea, and decided to give it a try.
And I read a stat the other day, you're the 7th winningest coach in Division III right now. How does that make you feel?
I think, once again, I think it says a lot about this program, I could have ended up at a lot of different places, and some places that you coach at, they fundamentally, are going to support the program on every level, administratively, in the athletic department, in the community. And some programs don't get that kind of support. Either that's just not the mission of that school, or that's not the focus of that school, or the community isn't supportive, and I'm in the first case. I'm in a program where the community of Pella, our alums, the college administration, the athletic department, all really value the football program, want to see it be successful, support it, and with that kind of support, you can do a lot of really good things. I've often said that a lot of times, players win games and administrations win championships, and I mean that in a sense of like, if you don't have that support, it's really hard to be any good. And we've really been fortunate. I've been fortunate to be at a place where they value football and they value athletics as an important part of the overall educational experience of the players.
Where and how did your love for football develop?
Growing up, I grew up on a farm by Grundy Center, and 4 boys and a girl, and So I had a sister and 3 brothers, and we were outside all the time. We were always playing sports, and football just became the sport that I loved the most. And all of us played in college in my family, and we just grew up loving it. And I had one of my grandmother was really into athletics, sports, and football, and she really supported me to play. And then doing so in high school, I had really good coaches. I had a PE teacher named Mr. Valentine who was very supportive of us continuing to play sports after college, and he encouraged me to do that, and then getting recruited and going through that process, and then coming here. I think that was another thing. I mean, it was an environment where you really loved playing the game. It wasn't work. It didn't feel like a job. You wanted to do it, and I think that then, going through those injuries, as kind of disappointing as those were, it says a lot about, sometimes the good Lord gives you something maybe that you don't seem to be a real good thing in your life, and it turns out to be a blessing in disguise, or you can turn it into a blessing. And for me, getting hurt was probably something that really led to me continuing to fall in love with this opportunity to be a coach.
Going back to that recruiting, was it the culture and the nature and the everything here that made?
Yeah, I mean, I'd never been to Pella before until I came on my recruiting visit. And the first time I ever set foot in the town was to visit Central College. And once again, living 2 hours north of here and on the farm, we didn't really get off the farm too much and go to too many places. And so I'd never been here before. I got here, I thought it was a really great community. And then I got on campus. It was a beautiful campus. And then when I met with the coaching staff and a few of the students here, I just really connected with this place, and it just felt like the right fit.
And obviously you've been here for about 20 years now. It's still the right fit.
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I, my wife is also a Central grad, and when we were dating at Central, we always joked that we would retire to Pella someday. We just got here a lot earlier than retirement, but we really love the community and the campus community, but also the community of Pella. It means a lot to us. It's a great place.
And I was just reading, Coach Skipper has 287 wins in his career. Are you striving to meet that, or how do you feel like you measure up to that?
I think that it would be a big mistake for me and really anybody else to come in and try and compare themselves to Coach Skipper. There's only one Coach Skipper, and he's left an amazing legacy here. And I think that I think the best thing that I can do, and this would be my advice to anybody else who ever coaches here at Central College, is to just really be yourself and try and be you the best that you can. And the wins and losses will kind of take care of themselves if you do the right thing and you work hard and you treat people the right way. You care about your coaches and the guys that you're coaching. And I think that's kind of how I've always left it. I've never really had a win goal in mind or anything like that, and he coached it for 36 years. That's a long time. That's a great legacy, and so that's kind of always been my focus. But that's a great question.
And I've talked to a lot of high school football coaches over the years. They talk about how they want to mold their players into young men.
Yeah.
And so by the time they get to you, they're pretty much those young men.
Yeah.
So what do you see your role? Do you still have more development to do with them?
I think that, as I've gotten to know, the members of our team, we get them from 18 to 22, and obviously their families, their parents, how they're brought up. That plays a big role in their upbringing. Obviously coaches, teachers, they have a significant influence. And so a lot of kind of who they are and how they think and what they are has really been developed. I think what we really work hard to do is to just kind of add on to that, help kind of polish it, help them become, good thinkers and kind of see an example of a way of doing things that we feel is really a good way to live your life. And so it is really important for us that we work to develop these guys and help them grow as men, help them grow into the men that they're called to be, get them thinking a little bit more about their careers and how they want the next stage of their life to go, but also what kind of dads they want to be, and what kind of fathers they want to be, what kind of people in the community, how they can impact the community in a positive way. And so, take what they've been, where they're at, and then help them kind of take that next step. And so I think you do play a role in it. I do think that by the time we get them, a big chunk of that has already been done.
And so what's next for Coach McMartin? Are you shooting for well, obviously you're shooting for another national title every year, but
sure.
What's your short-term focus?
I mean, I think that, we want to have, so if you want to talk short-term, we want to have a good practice today. Okay. That's our short-term focus. And I have really, stressed to our team, and I take this to myself as well, really work to be in the moment, make what you're doing right now really important. And so, having a good day today is going to be a really big thing. Having a good week of practice, stacking some good practices on top of themselves, and preparing to play our best on Saturday. That's really important to me. And then you go through that process on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and then you can kind of look back at the end and kind of see how it all kind of shook out. I love being here. I love coaching here. Very committed to this community, this campus community, the community of Pella, and my family. I have 2 daughters that go to school here and run track and cross country here. And so our whole family is really here at Central. And so this is a place that we really love, and we want to see it do well. We want to see it succeed. So if I can help that success, I want to be a part of that. But I also, I never get too far ahead, because I really try and stay kind of in the now.
Mm-hmm. And Central's football roster has always been huge. Every year I've covered you. Do you try to have a personal relationship with all of your players? And if so, how do you pull that off with having 100 and some guys?
Yeah, so we right now we have 124 guys in our team, and part of the reason of the size is you need depth in football. I
Obviously.
mean, you show me a college football team that has 50 guys on their team, and I'm going to show you an 0-10 football team. You just can't have that small of a group in college with your depth and just how the game is played. Plus, we play JV schedule as well, so we need probably even more guys to really be, to give our guys a chance to compete both on the varsity and junior varsity level. So that's important. It's also, I think, important because we want to build a great community. Our team it's a family of itself. There's a culture here. There's a family here that's really important for us, and we want people to be a part of that. And so having a big roster, or having a roster that size, I think it's been a really critical thing, and we're going to work really hard to kind of keep it in and around those numbers all the time. And so we believe that that's healthy for us, and something that's helped our players grow. And as far as connecting with them, I think that we do. We try and be intentional, our entire coaching staff and myself, to get to know these guys. I'm going to say something to every player at some point in practice every day, including when they walk off that field. I'm very intentional to see each guy. I fist bump each guy when they come off the field, and that gives me a chance to at least tell them to get a good night's sleep, or to study hard, or see how they're doing, or tell them that they did a good job. Then out of season, we're constantly meeting with our guys. I think it's also really important when you have a team this size that you have a great coaching staff. And our offensive defense coordinators, our assistant coaches, they do an awesome job of really developing relationships within the team, within their positions, within their side of the ball. And all those things really matter. There's a lot of experts that'll go out there and say you can really only impact, or really, develop small numbers of strong relationships. And I think that there's some truth to that. But I think if you have a good coaching staff and you're intentional about it, you can touch a lot of people. And if you get guys, if you can retain those players and get them to commit to 4 years, you've got time to develop those relationships too.
And obviously, character counts more than wins and losses. You want to win the right way.
Right. When we recruit a guy, we talk to each player about, we ask them a lot of questions. What are you looking for? What do you want in a school? What do you want in a football program? And after we find out about those, their kind of their wants and things that they're looking at, we try and articulate. We work really hard to articulate to them what we're looking for. Mm-hmm. And the first thing we're looking for is a guy with great character. Mm-hmm. What kind of person is he? Does he do the little things right? Does he treat other people well? Does he have integrity? Is he trustworthy? Does he have a great work ethic? Those are things that we look for, right off the bat. The second thing we look for is he a good student? Is he going to come here and, graduate, do the work, and and be as committed as academics as he is as athletics. Be a champion as a student as well as a football player. And then obviously the last thing, look for a guy that's a good football player that can help you on the field as well. But it really starts for us with character. You can have great football players, and if they're knuckleheads, you're in trouble. You're either going to be dealing with a lot of off the field stuff, or they're not going to be around for very long, and that doesn't help you build a great program either. And so character, what kind of people we're dealing with, that's a critical thing to us, because we know what our culture is. We know who we are. And I think that's one of the really great things about the legacy of this program. And if you want to kind of go back to Coach Skipper, when Coach Skipper was here, we had a culture here. Culture just didn't start in the 90s or the 2000s. Culture was here. Our culture has been here for a long, long time. And what we've tried to do is you evolve and you change. People change. Times change, society changes, but what we've tried to do is really kind of stay true to the culture and really know who we are, and really bring people in that fit that culture, that are going to thrive in it, and they're going to really love being here and be the best men, students, and football players that they can be.
Absolutely. I think that's a good note to end on.
Sure.
Well, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks a lot for having me. It was a pleasure. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank all of you for joining us.